here we go. We are live. Actually, hand me that back. So, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Amish Rebel Podcast, Amish Media Group. Greatly appreciate you guys. Excited to share today's guests with you. We are going to have a conversation, just whatever they want to talk about. They have the mic to ask me questions, and so we'll see what becomes of that. It should be very interesting. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you for always liking and subscribing and sharing this podcast. You guys have been doing an amazing job with doing that. Our platform's growing quickly, and I know it's because of you sharing this information. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for all your comments. I read tons and tons of comments. If I like them, it means I've read them. I just don't always have the time to reply. So appreciate you guys, and let's get right into it. So this is my daughter, Caitlin. You want to introduce yourself? You're being a little shy now. Anyway, so this is my daughter, Caitlin. How old are you?
I'm 7. Yes?
No.
8.
You're 8. And this is my son, Gunner. How old are you?
8.
You're 8?
Yeah.
You guys are twins, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been on the podcast once before, a long time ago, together. And you did not have your Amish outfits on. So what's up with the Amish outfit?
Good question.
That's a good question. You're supposed to be asking me questions, huh? You weren't ready for that. Okay. Anyway, so they're going to be asking me questions. And I kind of put them on the spot there because they weren't ready for that, prepared for it. But they wanted to come on. They wanted to dress up in their Amish clothes. Now, I will clarify this before we move on, that the clothes that they are wearing are not the Schwarzentrooper Amish clothes. They're like more like an old order Amish clothes that my sister, similar to old order Amish, and she made them clothes so they enjoy wearing them, and they sometimes wear them for fun, and sometimes they wear them to come on here. So thank you for coming on, you two. So what questions do you guys have for me today?
Well, why do Amish wear hats a lot?
Why do Amish wear hats a lot? That's a great question. I'm sure somebody else is wondering that too. Why do Amish wear hats a lot?
And why do Amish women have to wear bonnets?
Why do they have to wear bonnets?
Yes.
That's a great question. So we're going to answer both of those questions, or I will attempt to answer them. And first one is, why do Amish men wear hats a lot? So they wear hats a lot because the Amish believe in, at least the Schwarzentrooper Amish believe that the hat is to cover their head, and so it's just tradition, I guess, rules that they have to wear the hat unless they are sitting in church, they take them off, or unless they're sitting down to eat, they take them off. Otherwise, when they're out and about, they're always wearing the hat. So if you see an Amish person without their hat on, more than likely they're being rebellious. Like if they're out in public and they're not wearing their hat, or maybe they're in the buggy and they took their hat off. And that's like, we were so strict with the hat rule that we would sometimes take our hats off while we're driving in the buggy, and then we see another buggy coming the other direction, we quickly grab our hat and put it on because we didn't want to be caught or seen without our hat on. So that's within the Schwarzentrooper Amish community. So now there's other communities that maybe they're not quite as strict with the hat rule. The bonnet is very similar. The bonnet the ladies wear because they follow the rule of covering their hair or their head.
My head is covered.
Your head is covered?
Yeah.
With what?
Hair.
With hair.
And I don't need to cover my hair.
Yeah, that is pretty common sense, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you would think so. But the Amish don't think so. See, they think that you have to wear the bonnet to cover your hair and your head. And so
my hair doesn't have to be covered.
Yeah, that's pretty nice that you don't have to keep it covered all the time, huh?
And I'm glad that I'm able to cut my hair, not just let it grow.
Yeah, you recently cut it. See, if you were an Amish little girl, you would not be allowed to cut your hair.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, does it?
Because you're just gonna cover it up.
Maybe make your braids not long enough.
Yeah, well, you're not allowed to braid your hair either if you're Amish. You gotta bundle it up and then pin it and then put a bonnet on.
And put a net on it.
Nope, no net. Not if you're Schwarzenegger Amish. You're not allowed to wear a net.
Then why when I saw one of my cousins take, I think it was Rose, she took her bonnet off and she had a little bun on her head and there was a net on it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you will see Amish with nets on it, and that you're talking about your cousin that her mom made your dress, right? Yeah. So they're like older Amish. Now their rules are a little bit different, but the way Daddy grew up, that was Schwarzenegger Amish, which is like, it's like you can't wear a net. You got to have like just a band where you use the band to cover your hair, or to tuck your hair in. And like do your hair with a bunch of pins, and that's how you hold up your hair, and that's the only way you're allowed to keep your hair up. It's not braid. You can't braid them. Like a woman cannot braid her hair.
So it basically looks like women don't even have hair.
Yeah, pretty much.
They don't even give them bangs.
No, they don't give them bangs.
They only go like that and that.
They slick them back. Yep, that would hurt. Yep. There's women that have like headaches because they have to like put their hair back so tight that it hurts their head. But it's just the rules. They have to do it. And then they put the bonnet on and you never get to see the hair. So like, well, I mean, I would see my sister's hair when Saturday nights they were like after they took a bath and they were drying their hair. But that was usually just within the family. Like they were not allowed to go out in public with their hair down like you do.
Yeah, but why are men allowed to have beards then?
Why are men allowed to have beards? Well, that's just another rule that the men have that the women don't have. It's like they're allowed to have a beard, and the women are not allowed to shave their beards. So if they grow a beard, they have to have a beard. You got a question for me?
Well, why wouldn't they shave their beards?
Why wouldn't they shave them? So you're supposed to shave them until you join the church. Once you become a member of the church, you start following all the strict rules, very strict rules, and then you cannot shave your beard anymore. So, you want to be Amish?
I do not want to wear a skimpy old hat all the time.
A skippity hat? Where did the skippity hat come from? I used to wear a hat like that when I was a little boy.
Did you squash it?
I did squash it, yep. I squashed it very much. In fact, my favorite hat was when it got so worn out that the rim fell off, and then I would just have a bowl sitting on top of my head. That was my favorite hat. That way I didn't have this big old broom that would get caught in the wind and go blowing away, and I'd have to run after it and try to catch it.
Yeah, I don't like this broom.
Yeah. Are you glad that you don't have to wear it every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're a man, well, now it's just stuck on because it's some kind of, I don't know what.
And
Yeah.
when you sit down, watch this. It just squashes the back.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any other questions for me outside the hat and the bonnet?
I did have one. What was
Okay, what was the question?
Do you remember, Gus?
You should have written it down. The
do-
people are waiting. You have a question for me?
Yeah, it's why did the Amish not wear bright clothes?
Why do the Amish not? That's a great question, Gunner. So why don't they wear, actually, you're wearing kind of bright clothes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a white collar, a green shirt, that is not, that is not allowed where the way I grew up. You're way too worldly. What? Yeah, this is what this is what I was allowed to wear. So I was only allowed to wear blues and light greens, no bright red. I remember having one red shirt, but it wasn't very bright, so I could wear it. But no yellows, no, and don't ask me why you can't have all these colors, except maybe, just maybe, it was a part of the rule system. Not maybe, it was. Anyway, the dramatic rules. Anyway, so these colors would not be allowed. They're too worldly. But worldly. So we're a part of the worldly system, huh? Yeah. Anyway. So where was I going with this color? Oh, we were not allowed to wear bright colors, and you guys asked why. The reason why is because it was too worldly. So
I read a book about the book that Grandma Mary wrote, and it said something about her sitting out on her porch watching all the cars and people in their bright clothes, which all the Amish people called worldly.
Worldly. Yeah, so the book that Caitlin's referring to, my mom wrote, which would be her grandma, and it's called The Amish Infidel. And it is not available anywhere online. But if you guys would like a copy of it, I have a physical copy of it. And it is available if you email me directly. So if you're watching this episode and you want a copy of my mom's book, you can just email me directly. And the email should be on the YouTube channel or on TikTok. You email that. I believe it is the Amish Rebel at 2024, Amish Rebel 2024 at gmail.com. So if you guys want a copy of that book, we will. This was not planned, by the way. I don't have a ton of copies. I can always get more if a bunch of you would like to have a copy. But I believe it is $15 if you guys are interested in it. So thank you for bringing that up. By the way, the funds will be donated to an organization of my mom's choice, because my mom has since passed, but she left that legacy for us. So thank you for bringing that up. What else do you want to talk about?
I have one.
You have a question? Okay.
Why do Amish wear different kinds of hats?
Different kinds of hats.
Yeah, black ones and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I bet a lot of people are curious about that because you're wearing a straw hat and I'm wearing a black hat. This is called the wool hat, and that's called the straw hat, and the wool
it's
hat.
Obvious. This is made of straw.
You're pretty smart, you know that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so hang on just a second. I got to answer this question. So the question is, why do Amish wear two different types of hats? A straw hat and a wool hat, a black hat. So black hats are typically worn in the wintertime, special occasions, going to church, things of those that revolve community. So let's say they have a church function, or maybe they have weddings, funerals, the black hats are usually worn. The straw hats, however, are worn also in the summertime for special occasions, but they're not as popular. The straw hats are mostly worn for the workers. So let's say I was working on the farm, I would wear a straw hat. If I was going to work, like I was going on a construction site, I would wear the straw hat. But if I was going to a friend's house for a visit, I would wear the black hat. So the black hats are mostly, like I said, worn for special occasions. And once they are like really worn out, like let's say they get like really bad or whatever, then you wear them in the winter time for doing outside activities. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Good job. What other question do you have?
Another one about hats.
Another one, but man, this is turning into a hat question podcast.
Well, but
What
why
about?
are you allowed to wear straw?
You have to speak up so they can hear you.
Why are you allowed to wear straw hats? It's a bright color.
It's a bright color, yeah. Well, they have a lot of silly rules, right? Very silly rules. So, I don't know. Maybe we need to ask the bishop.
The bishop. He's
Yeah.
a bishop.
He's the guy that holds up all the rules in the community.
He must be quite something, right?
He must be quite something.
This silly little bishop. He wants to make everyone struggle having to wear hard little hat, which is hard to sit down on.
Yeah, well, if I'm sitting down, so let's say I take my hat off, so if I'm going to somebody's house, this is how I would typically sit down. I would come in, sit down, and take my hat off. That's because I'm sitting down and I'm talking to people. As soon as I get up and walk out the door, I put my hat on. Kind of much like a cowboy would.
But what if you're at a friend's house?
If you're at a friend's house, you do the same thing. You come in, you take your hat off, and that's a sign of just relaxing and talking. But now I'm getting serious, moving around. I'm putting my hat back on. I'm going about my business.
Do you put it on a hook like this?
Yeah, my knee. That's a good hook, isn't it? No, you would. Every Amish house has a place where you either put your hat on a shelf or you hang it up. So instead of having hooks for clothes like we do, you would have hooks for hats. Only hats. And they're a little bit further apart because you have the big old brim that you have to hang up. There you go. That's your question answered. What other
Why are there different kinds of Amish?
Okay, that is a big question for another episode. Okay? So we're going to leave the audience hanging with that question. Why are there different types of Amish? We can make a whole podcast about that. You want to?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. Hey, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Greatly appreciate you guys. I know it's a little bit shorter episode, but we still really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you were entertained. I hope that you learned something from this episode, and we will see you in the next one. And remember to always be intentional. Thank you for watching.